In Omaha, Nebraska, there's a gray stucco house on a quiet corner street. 5 bedrooms. Nothing remarkable about it. The kind of house you'd drive past without a second look. It was bought in 1958 for $31,500. The man who bought it is worth around $150 billion today, and he still lives there. Not a summer home, not one property among many. His only home. We've spent this entire series looking at the most expensive things money can buy. This time, we're doing the opposite, because it turns out some of the richest people on Earth own things that would embarrass a mid-level manager.
That house belongs to Warren Buffett, and the math around it is almost funny once you actually run it. Adjusted for inflation, $31,500 in 1958 is worth a little over $330,000 today. Buffett's net worth sits somewhere around $150 billion. Do the division, and his house represents roughly 0.0002% of what he owns. To put that in a number a normal person can actually feel, if your net worth were $100,000, not extraordinary, just a solid financial position, the equivalent purchase would be about 20 cents. Buffett's primary residence, relative to his wealth, costs less than a piece of gum. Here's the part that actually surprised me researching this. He's called it, quote, the third best investment I ever made, right behind his wedding rings. Not because the house appreciated dramatically, though it did, now sitting around $1.4 million. He said outright that renting and investing the difference would have made him more money. He kept it anyway. So if it's not about performance and it's not about status, what's actually going on here?
It would be easy to write Buffett off as one eccentric old man. He isn't. The pattern shows up again and again once you start looking for it. IKEA's founder, Ingvar Kamprad, died with a fortune estimated at close to $50 billion. For roughly 2 decades, his daily driver was the same 1993 Volvo 240. He only gave it up after people close to him argued it had become unsafe to keep driving. He flew economy class for most of his life, reportedly kept the salt and pepper packets from restaurants, and once said, in his own words, "I'm stingy and proud." Mark Zuckerberg's case is stranger because it isn't really about avoiding luxury. He owns a Pagani Huayra hypercar worth more than $1 million, but that car reportedly sits in a garage most days. His actual daily driver, the one he's been photographed in again and again over the years, is a Honda Fit, a car that starts under $18,000. He said he prefers his other everyday car, an aging Acura, because it's safe, comfortable, and not ostentatious. He could drive the hypercar every single day. He mostly doesn't. None of these are isolated quirks. They're the same decision, made independently by people with almost nothing else in common, except an absurd amount of money. Most videos stop at, billionaires are frugal. Isn't that quirky? That's not actually an explanation. Here's a better one. Once your wealth crosses a certain threshold, spending stops being about what you can afford and starts being about what actually changes your life. A $1 billion net worth doesn't feel more comfortable at $2 billion. The house doesn't get warmer, the bed doesn't get more comfortable. Past a certain point, upgrading your lifestyle produces almost zero additional benefit, but it does add complexity. More staff to manage, more security to think about, more things that can go wrong. Buffett has talked about this directly. Keeping his life simple isn't a sacrifice for him. It's a form of control. Fewer possessions mean fewer decisions, fewer people depending on him for upkeep, fewer variables in a life that's already complicated enough at that scale. There's a phrase behavioral economists use for this, hedonic adaptation. The idea that humans recalibrate to almost any lifestyle upgrade within months, then need the next upgrade just to feel the same. Buffett appears to have simply opted out of the treadmill decades ago, back when he could still remember what getting on it felt like. But here's where it gets more interesting than simple humility. In certain circles, driving an old car or living in a modest house has quietly become its own kind of flex. Think about it. Anyone with enough money can buy a mansion.
That's available to literally every billionaire on the planet. It requires no taste, no restraint, no story. But choosing not to, when you very publicly could, that's rarer. And rarity is the entire currency of status among people who already have everything. Buffett doesn't need a mansion to prove he's successful. Everyone already knows. The modest house does something a mansion never could. It proves he doesn't need to prove anything. That's a more expensive.
So which is it? Genuine humility or the most sophisticated status move in the book? Probably both, depending on the person, and probably neither is the full story. What's actually true is simpler and a little uncomfortable. Money stops being about the things it can buy a lot earlier than most of us assume. The rest is just what a person decides to do with the excess. Buffett didn't get to $150 billion by chasing the next upgrade. If anything,
So the next time you see a billionaire's mansion or a yacht with a meteorite bolted to the ceiling, remember there's also a gray house on a quiet street in Omaha, worth less than most people's cars, belonging to one of the richest men who has ever lived. Which philosophy actually makes more sense to you? Spend it or sit on it? Let me know in the comments. I have a feeling this one's going to be split. If videos like this make you rethink what wealth actually looks like, subscribe, because next time we're going back to the other extreme, a private jet with a concert hall and a throne room built inside it.